All right, we are recording. So how do you like being called?
Captain Sweep or the Love Prophet, depending upon what is the context of the situation.
I like the Love Prophet.
Okay, we'll do that one. No one
Cool.
likes Captain Sweep. He's my shadow, and it's when I'm in a bad place, the wrong things come out.
Captain Sweep.
Yeah.
Well, we need both the light and the dark, so
So, so maybe he'll come in depending upon the situation.
sure. Cool.
So
It's lovely to meet you.
lovely to meet you. How did your ceremony go?
Good, really well. Yeah, I opened up the circle. I talked about the moon and the energies, and then a girlfriend jumped in, and her and I talked about what we've been going through, and we did a nice meditation and closed it. It actually, yeah, it went a little bit longer than thought, but it was great.
Excellent.
Yeah, and now you're here.
I am. So tell me about wizards and witches. Like, I was immediately drawn because, as you know, I'm a wizard, and I feel like our time has come. Like,
Yeah,
we've been sort of attacked and for centuries, for thousands of years, but now our time has come.
yeah. There's been, I feel like, a huge shift on the planet, and now a lot of people are getting really empowered. A lot of people are coming into the witch vibration, and I know a lot of witches, and I know a lot of powerful wizards too, and they don't always use that language, so it doesn't mean that they're not still magical. But for me, I started using the word maybe about a year ago because I was like, all the things I've been doing, they are really magical and witchy, and I'm gonna claim that, and I'm gonna own it, and I'm gonna run with it. So yeah, it's been cool. At first, it caused a bit of like backlash because people hear the word witch and they're like, "Oh God, like you're gonna put a curse on me, or you're gonna do a spell or something." And I'm like, "Well, I'm a white witch, and I will do like just simple magic, like set intentions and smudge and use crystals and use essential oils and a lot of energy work and a lot of magical sort of um, yeah, spells that way. Tell me about you and your wizardness.
Well, I think, like you, there's a new set of tools that wizards are using these days, and it might be the technology of the day, but there's also the tools that connects us back to nature. I mean, right now I'm in the belly of the beast. I'm in Van City, where they actually give this room out to anyone at no cost to do whatever you got to do for the community. And I felt that was a good place to be. So I think in the larger picture, what wizards are trying to do is to help out the species and the communities within which they live to have a better life. And right now, the world, is caught in this insane old paradigm of fear, and people like ourselves are saying, there's another way. There's a loving way to live, and it's way better. But it's like our species is asleep, and so it needs to wake up. And I think that's what's happening. And there's a lot of people like ourselves again that have woken up maybe a little bit earlier and see the world quite a bit differently. And so from my point of view, it's like, how do you create tools or processes or events or whatever it is to help every human being wake up to the truth of who they are, which is, to me, a divine being with nothing between them and the creator and goddess and all the other wonderful things in between.
Yeah, yeah, that's exactly it. I started hosting witch circles back in the spring, and all of my girlfriends were coming, and they're like, "Well, we don't know anything about witches, but let's do it." And so the woman who jumped on the call earlier today, she's like a full-fledged witch. Her mom was a witch. They're from Mexico. They've got deep magical roots. Um, and she said even today, she's like, "Thank you so much for reminding me what I am, because I had forgotten and I had not thought about it." And so just even hosting like in person is wonderful, but I'm really excited about doing it online to get more people all over the world to be able to wake up and see that it's not so far-fetched. Yeah.
So what type of groupings were you thinking? I'm very into numbers. I think wizards like numbers a lot. And so if there's
Right.
two of us, it's sort of like it's significant because there's a duality, there's a polarity, there's a masculine, there's a feminine, there's a witch, there's a wizard.
Totally.
It works in a certain way, and as soon as you bring in the third and the fourth and the fifth, there's an exponential amount of dynamics that occur.
Yes.
So sometimes too many people, there's not enough sort of airspace for everyone's wisdom. So what were you looking at in terms of numbers of people?
Yeah, I guess I haven't been very specific on that. I found for gatherings in person, between 3 and 13 is a good sphere. And anything more than a dozen really gets a little bit too chaotic. It's hard. Yeah, like you said, it's hard for everyone's wisdom to come out, for everyone to share. And so those are the numbers I like, between 3 and 13.
And what's the limit within here? Is it 20? Like how many people can go into Zoom?
I feel like it's unlimited, but I'm only on a free. I'm only on the free thing right now, and so you can only talk for 40 minutes. I think if you have more than 2 people.
Right.
But I don't know if there's a limit on how many people can join. I'm sure it gets slowed down too if there's lots of people, and audio
Lots
would be odd.
of boxes. Lots of
Yeah,
boxes.
yeah, lots of little boxes.
Well, I just think sometimes, like, let's say if you said between 4 and 8, or you actually said 8, so there's you and there's 8 others, so the whole screen is 3 threes. It looks like Hollywood squares, and it's sort of, it's sort of like whether first come first serve, or let's say you invite 8 people, and a specific 8, like 8 that are at the same level, might have a degree of synergy.
Yeah.
And you bring them in. That's, I think, a very valuable thing to do, because what you're doing is you're creating field of intention and integrity and energy between these people online, and teaching them to use a tool which really does help in terms of bringing people together from different everywhere, like geographical and in mindset.
Yeah.
Then to share the knowledge, which I think right now is what we need to do. We need to allow everyone to share their gifts, to share what they've learned, to give a sort of a peer-to-peer type equality, and then learn from each other really where we need to go. Because I think we've been very alone as way showers or pioneers. You've done a lot of work by yourself, and there's others like you, but they're sometimes few and far between. But right now, like, there just seems to be a surge of interest and energy regarding consciousness and how we can steer the species towards a more peaceful future.
Yeah. Yeah, that's brilliant.
So what are your plans, let's say, in the next 3 months? Like, what creative projects, and what, I think you're moving to Victoria, you said. So
Yeah.
what you want to do?
Yeah, I'm moving to Victoria early January because I'm teaching there. I'll be teaching there full time, aerial work, aerial arts. So the reason I'm sort of wanting to switch this sort of format, my witch gatherings online, is so that I can keep connecting with the people that I've made connections with here in Calgary, but also connect with people I've made connections with other places, and then just open it up to anyone who really feels called to join. And then I don't know that many people in Victoria yet either, so I want to keep the gatherings going. And I wasn't sure if I would be able to just make a whole new group, meet a whole new group. I'm sure there are a ton of really great people in Victoria, so I'm sure I could, but
Definitely, if you want to go to one of their full moon gatherings, they have, like every city in Canada, right? There's an amazing group of people if you just sort of look
happen.
wide enough. And you can usually tell by the color of their hair too.
Right.
Anything strange they're wearing, you can spot them from a mile away, because they're the walking anomaly.
Yeah.
But in a festival, everyone's like that, right?
Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
So tell me a little bit more about your art. Like, I've only seen the one video, and I was almost in awe. You've obviously been practicing this a long time, and it's your main primary expression. How did you get there?
Yeah, I grew up being a dancer. So I grew up in the ballet world and I pursued that professionally. I switched to modern dance in my late teens, early 20s. And then I came back to Calgary after training in Toronto and I was sort of bored with the dance scene here. So someone suggested taking a circus class. And so I actually started with aerial hoop and I fell in love with it because it was challenging and it was new and different. And I've been doing it ever since. But when I got into it, the aerial arts, I got into it with the mindset that I would do it to perform because I was a performer before as a dancer. Um, yeah, and I still love it, and I still find new things, new ways of moving, and new ways of being, and it's shown me like I really need to take care of my own body because it's very challenging and very hard, and so I have to be very aware. I've learned, I trained so hard last year that I pushed past all boundaries of fear, so I had no fear anymore. But then I got injured, so I got the fear back, which is actually really good and supportive in what I do. Um, so yeah,
So are
that's,
you looking to teach people? Are you looking to, like, what age groups, and what kind of format were you thinking?
well, I already have a job at a circus studio, so I'll be teaching there, mostly adults, some children, and I think some teens. And then hopefully I'll be able to perform a bit on the island too while I'm there. So
Have you done tours of North America, kind of like?
I've gone to a few different cities across Canada, but nothing huge, nothing major.
Tell me a little bit more about being a sort of modern day witch. What do you feel are the characteristics? I think, like you brought up, there's a very sort of bad impression based upon history, but it's based upon a patriarchal society that sort of would go after witch hunts, after anyone who is different from what they were currently trying to get everyone to believe. So it,
Yeah.
it's, I just wonder if you could tell the world, what is the modern day witch?
Oh, the modern day witch. Well, the way I like to think about it is any woman who is just in touch with her womb and in touch with nature. And so she owns her own power that way. And so the modern day witch might um, be connected to the moon and see the cycles of nature. Modern day witch might make tea potions. Or don't, maybe she doesn't even call them potions, but she'll make tea like lavender for rest or peppermint for cooling or all these things that are wisdom that we either learned or just internalized. A modern day witch uses essential oils, practices yoga, an ancient form of moving the energy through the body, um, which is really magical. Um, a modern day witch might sort of cast spells, or and spells could be anything like spelling, right? Writing things down, setting intentions in journals, writing gratitude lists. That's all magic. That's all witchy. Um, Yeah, being really a woman who's just really conscious about what she's doing and she's in her own power and she owns herself is really my definition of a modern day witch.
Hmm. Well, I mean, it sounds like most women, I think, would identify with that.
Yeah.
And are you looking to teach any younger women, perhaps, what you've learned, not just from the physical side, but the philosophical side?
Oh yeah, I would love to.
Because I think there's a huge amount of younger people that would love to uh, dive into those arts.
Yeah, I mean, growing up, I was a very sensitive child, and I would have, I think, really thrived had I had some sort of guidance or knowledge in this realm. I ended up diving into a deep depression because I didn't know how to handle the world, and I was too sensitive. So I tried to numb it and shut it out. And then early 20s, I was like, okay, I'm done with this. I want to like be better. And that's basically where my whole journey started, um, like from a really dark place. But I had to build the tools and I didn't really have much support. I had to go and search everything on my own. So yeah, if I could teach like even children, like I try to teach my nephews even just simple things about like drink this tea at this time or whatever. It would be great. It would be great. I would love to share that.
Because I think one of the things I'm working on is called the School of Conscious Communication.
Yeah.
And I believe I'm always in it. And we're always in it in a sense, but we may not have agreements or parameters for how we learn together. And I think that part of the movement from the old paradigm to the new paradigm is learning how to communicate either what the old paradigm is or isn't, and what the new paradigm is or isn't, and being able to distinguish the two. And the main parameter being love for the future and sort of fear being the past.
Hmm.
And I sense that there's a large amount of people who have woken up, who do have knowledge to share, but not in the normal way, not in the control-based, institutionalized type of learning where you have to have X amount of degrees or X amount of sort of the benchmarks that the old paradigm puts as being important. Rather, people who've done the work themselves or have a natural gift. Some people, when they're 4 years old, are much better than everyone at doing whatever they do.
Yeah.
That's what they should be sharing, right? So the one of the main points of being in the school is designing your ideal job,
Right.
starting with this, starting with how you want to schedule time, and then looking at where you are now, and then building up whatever are the steps to get to where you want to be, but
Yeah.
not probably in the normal way of doing things, but to use magic, to set intention, to really bring in ceremony, to bring in connection with others, to bring in synergy with others, to bring in love about what you're doing and with others.
Yeah. I actually, like, since I started this worst journey, I actually don't feel like I know that much. And part of what I do is just facilitate. I just host the space, and the women come, and we all teach each other. Like, I've had women teach me things, and now I'm sharing them. But, yeah, it's been such a free form. It's just a venue. Like, sitting in circle with other women specifically is so magical. And I've had so many men message me to be like, when are you doing this for men? When are we opening this up for men? And I've just been a bit hesitant because I didn't know if I should lead it as a woman. But there's such a need.
Right. Very true. When I was just last in Duncan at the end, I was in a bit of a men's group, and just to be around other men, to listen, just to know someone actually cares a little bit is huge, and it
Yeah.
was transforming for all of us. So I agree wholeheartedly, and I think I'll be doing something similar in Vancouver. And I think, as we all sort of step up, there's lots of men in different cities that wish to have a stronger connection with the men's group.
Yeah.
So, what's our timing at? You said you may have to go to
It's just
work.
a retreat. Yeah, we can chat for a little bit longer. I'd love to know more about what it is that you're creating and what you're envisioning. And
Okay. Well,
yeah,
I mean, as a child, I was always, reading fantasy novels like Lord of the Rings, and we all choose our archetypes of what we like. And I always wanted to be a wizard. And it just seemed that the wizards were the strange ones who go off by themselves and do a lot of studying and come back with some magical plan or something to help people. And so I did that, whether known or unknown. I focused my attention on maps, looking at the conceptual maps that organize society and organize our mind and organize software and organize business systems, that the way that we organize information has a huge impact on everything. And so if you're going to build a house, you need blueprints. And most products have product specifications that are in some sort of map. And if you look at our minds, we've been taught linearly, we've been taught to be very almost small. And as we sort of are all learning now, we're part of a multidimensional universe. We have access to things that we can't even begin to think about, and it's the way we organize our minds. And so the mind is like an empty house, and you're moving all this furniture around, and you can call it, you can put the couch upstairs and you can call it Buddhism, put the couch down in the kitchen and call it Christianity. I mean, a lot of beliefs and values move around within these worldviews, but we don't really understand how the mind works.
Mm.
So when you start to design how your mind works, when you look at your own programming, when you look at your own values and beliefs and go, well, how are these organized? Where did they come from? Are they serving me? And so the maps are based upon sacred geometry, where you place concepts on them and values in them, and you start to create something just different. That's what was known to all the occult circles, and that's like in the First Nations worldview tradition, they use the medicine wheel.
Mm-hmm.
On the medicine wheel, you have the directions, and if you go down into the different parts, you have fractals. You have an incredibly complex organizational structure for their knowledge, and it's when you see it, it is so advanced, and that's what was really wanting to be killed when the white Europeans came over. They wanted to eliminate that whole worldview because it was based upon more communal living, it was based upon more love, it was based upon a whole different way of living. White Europeans had figured it out, they would have wanted to live that way. And so now we're coming to the point where all peoples are being oppressed in a sense. And the truth is coming out as to how and why. And we need, in order to move into this, let's say, loving future, is we need to totally examine all of our thinking, all of the ways we do things, and reformat the hard drive to be, let's say, good for all people. And most systems that have been in place are institutionalized oppressive systems that are sort of there to keep the people down and take the resources out for a few people, rather than the resources being used for the good of the community and the good of the people and the good of the animals and the good of the land.
Mm.
That was the way before, because they knew how to steward what they were part of. And so I think that humanity, as our species becomes more conscious because of little conversations like this, because of YouTube videos, because of Google videos, we're getting feedback, we're getting new information, we're getting people like yourself who are like awake and loving and beautiful, and people go, I want to be like that, as opposed to like Rambo going around trying to kill people because something happened. So I think the media now is acting as a conscious reflection system, a feedback system for our species and the people awakening to begin to organize a little bit better, to help one another out, to bring that knowledge into the world. So I've been looking at media systems. I'm currently connected with some infotech companies, one specifically Veeam, which is looking at how to reformat how stories are told. And so there's a lot of new conscious tools coming out that are going to change our species like overnight. And I find that's very...
Wow, that's awesome. Yeah, sacred geometry. I went to a talk a few years ago at Burning Man, and this man, Jamie Janover, was summing up the teachings of Nassim Haramein, and how it's basically the map of the universe is sacred geometry. Everything is sacred geometry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think when you go on any type of stimulants or hallucinogens or whatever you want to call them, you actually see it.
Yeah.
And it's such a trip. I mean, it's not in the norm of society, but it was the norm for shamans or wizards or high priestesses or witches to participate in that. You would usually get some sort of stimulant, and whether it's magic mushrooms or ayahuasca, or I mean, each of them have their own sort of role to play. But I think here, magic mushrooms are a very important part. And they lead people to see things which ordinarily they would not see. And you come out of it, a changed person.
Yeah.
And I think that witches and wizards are not controlled by the normal frequency fences of society. And I think most society these days is there to control people and to keep them in certain boxes that stop their spiritual flourishing. And we act as catalysts and stimulants to these people to actually see where they are and give them maybe a path somewhere else, a place they'd rather be.
Yeah. Yeah, I love the concept of the mirror, and we're able to mirror a different version of someone back at them, and like you said, then they can see that, oh, it can be love and light and beauty. Um, it can also be dark and uncomfortable, and that's part of it. But yeah, there is another way, and I think people are starting to see that. We're starting to do it.
Well, I think people like yourself, like the divine feminine, and perhaps the younger generation who's growing up in a totally new world.
Yeah.
You guys are leaders. I mean, you guys are leading in love. You guys are leading in compassion. You guys are leading in pretty much everything, I think. I think men, for whether 12, 13,000 years have been holding the reins in terms of the control for the species. Now it's switched.
Yeah.
It's in the middle of switching. And so for any men out there, it's like, I think we have to play more of a support role and to assist people like yourself to do what you naturally know what to do, because we don't know.
Right. I think a lot of men do know, but like what I understand, the role of the masculine is to support the feminine, and he wants to wholeheartedly. Um, and I think that's beautiful. And the feminine only wants to share love, nurture, support. We're a great team if we work together.
I think the key is supporting without trying to own.
Yeah.
Supporting without trying to control. It's like holding the bird and killing it, or trying to grasp water. It doesn't work.
Totally.
You want to do it so that both feel free.
Yeah. Totally. Yeah. So what are your next 3 months like? What are your project's
You
goals?
get frozen.
Oh.
I didn't catch the last minute. The screen was frozen.
Okay. Am I back?
Just ask the question again, I guess.
Sure. Yeah. What are your creative projects or goals in the next 3 months?
Next 3 months. Well, I'm working on my first book called The 5 Communication Spaces. I have a lot of maps, but I don't have a lot of books explaining them. So that's a major thing.
Ah.
The software program that I'm working on, I would like to, I guess, participate in the soft launch of it to make sure that everything within it is good. I'm starting a new map series. I've got it at the art store. There was this big round wooden table that was round, and I love painting round tables. And so I'm going to do a next level prototype for this time translator prototype I have, which is 9 levels of time. And it's the basis of the whole operating system. And it's like a blank canvas is such a beautiful thing for an artist, right? And
Yeah.
And at Intention Gathering over the holidays, there's this intentional gathering, the Sunshine Coast. That's the 20th anniversary that I'm helping out on. And it's packed with good things, 3 or 4 days of people coming together to do everything that you love.
Wow.
And about 250 people. So it's like a summer festival in the winter on the Sunshine Coast at a kids' camp. Kid friendly, very fun people. That's
Beautiful.
That's something. And then I've got various projects with different people that I interact with, and I'm trying to help everyone sort of get ahead in some manner, then trying to figure out how to connect everything together. So I've got quite a few very talented, amazing people working on different things. And I guess that's part of what I do.
Great. That sounds like a lot.
Wizards got their hands in a few things.
Yeah. Oh, that's good.
How about you?
Well, I mean, my big focus right now is just getting the move to Victoria sorted and starting that new phase. So I'm just sort of trying to like close up some things here in Calgary and move to Victoria.
So do you have a date? Like,
I'm gonna drive out, so basically whenever after the new year. Probably I'll land hopefully between January 4th and January 7th in Victoria.
Okay, well, if you're coming through Vancouver, have a little visit with Captain Sweep. We could have a
Sure.
mocha on the drive, and I'd love to meet you face to face.
Yeah, yeah, I'll let you know. I will sit down soon and actually plan out so I can spend a few days on my way stopping places. So that would be
Maybe,
lovely.
well, maybe we could arrange something somewhere, right? Um, anyway, let's
Yeah,
just skip.
yeah, yeah. That's a great idea. Cool.
So I feel we're coming to the end, are we? Or how are we? How are we with time? I'm always concerned with time.
Good. Yeah, it's three. Oh, here it's 3:13. I don't know how long it's been. Probably half hour-ish. So
Yeah, I'm just wondering because you had said that you had to get to work after.
yeah, I have to go do some teaching tonight. Teach some aerial.
Just want to make sure that your timing is fine.
Yeah, yeah. I still got time.
Well, let me ask you maybe a question or two.
Okay.
Um, what do you think of teams of 4 people that begin to act as like a business unit? Like a lot of the times we have friends, we have allies, we have all these people in our life, but sometimes with our business, if you're an entrepreneur or a solo artist, it's a lot to do everything by yourself.
Yeah.
Sometimes like the A team, you can get 4 diverse people each doing different things, and together you can create something far stronger than if just the 4 of you are working independently. So I just wanted to ask you about what are your thoughts on such a thing?
Huh. I mean, I guess because I'm still such an independent soloist and artist that I don't have much experience with that per se. Um, but I do believe in like a team supporting each other is really important. The number 5 came to mind for me because witches, there's 5 types of witches, but yeah, 5 points on the pentagram. But fours, I'm sure would be great too.
Because I just get the sense that, we're just far stronger connected as a team. We always
Yes.
have.
Yeah.
And the way our society works is it isolates us. It isolates us to think that we do have to be on our own and do everything on our own. And that's fundamentally, we can never get to where we could go without supporting infrastructure. And so the idea is called a shared knowledge community, where there's 144 people that are organized in 12 teams of 12.
Wow.
And it's like a new cell to compete with the corporation, which is just based upon profit and has been kind of shown to be psychotic on its own,
Yeah.
and to create a new organizational infrastructure for the new paradigm where the artist and the inventor are the ones that are sort of held and nurtured and healed and honored, because they're the ones creating usually the work for everybody else.
Right.
So this team of 4 is within this larger umbrella of 144, and all of them are using the same operating system, and all of them are coming together on teams for projects, for products, for lots of different things, because you don't always have to be in the same team.
Yeah.
You might be with others doing other things, but you're learning how to team up, and you're learning how to be part of a transparent accounting system that is linked to sort of like the blockchain and the cryptocurrencies, and looking at creating a whole different way of interacting economically.
Yeah, actually, I guess if I can think back to some of my gigs, even though I'm a soloist, like I hire a rigger, I hire a videographer, I usually have some sort of artistic director, maybe a makeup artist. So that's, yeah, usually a team of 4 or 5 people.
Ah, yeah.
And it works well. They all support me.
Well, and that's the thing, and maybe on some occasions it may swing, and maybe you're the support in some manner.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
you're good at getting all the people in the room for somebody else.
Yeah, I've been on those teams too where I'm just part of the puzzle and there's 4 or 5 of us. No, I believe we're better together.
Hmm.
We can all get our egos out of the way.
Well, that's the big part. And that to me is the school of conscious communication, where there has to be some sort of larger envelope of elders or facilitators or mediators or people that can help out, right? So a lot of things I've seen, too many things I've seen, can turn sideways quick. And if there isn't some mechanism that people trust to bring it
Mm.
back into, where it's supposed to be, a lot of good things and good people can go sideways in ways that aren't good.
Yeah,
I just think that part of the new paradigm, if we're working in a more loving manner, is we're not, we're better able to deal with conflict.
totally.
So anyway, just some thoughts.
Yeah, yeah. No, they're great. Great thoughts. Yeah. Work together. I went and visited some friends in Edmonton 2 weeks ago, and there's a bunch of community houses up there. There's a bunch of like community homes, and they're all connected, and they're creating a new paradigm with the people living together. Like there's 6 people in almost each house, but each house is connected, and it's a different way of living than just like, oh, I'm gonna either live alone or have one roommate. It's like, no, let's have 6 roommates and let's be connected with the neighbors next door who are also doing this and the neighbors across the street. And like it's happening, I'm seeing it, and it's really magical, and I'm hoping to be part of something like that in Victoria.
Well, there's a number of, I think, communal houses in Victoria. I think it's, again, in every Canadian city, and I think it's more your generation. But I have participated in some to some degree, and I feel like when I was in Duncan, I managed to get connected to a house like that, and it
Great.
changes your life. Like
Yeah,
it's not easy for the older people to connect in sometimes, and it really does help to have multi-generational connections.
I highly believe that as well. Yeah.
But it's not so easy to find sometimes.
Yeah, yeah. Or you just have to create it. That's most of how I've gone about my path. I'm just like, I'm gonna create it because I don't see it yet.
Yeah.
Um, but I do see other people doing it too, so it's good.
Well, it has been exceedingly wonderful to speak with you
Yeah,
and
you too.
begin to get to know each other.
Yes.
And I'd like to give blessings to this to be the beginning of, let's say, the Wizards and the Witches show.
Yeah.
Perhaps what we could do is co-host it and perhaps invite each week wizards and witches to join us. Maybe 3 each or 4 each or something.
Sure.
Um, and maybe have a theme of the week, a question, have a format, and then
Go from there.
yeah.
Roll down the hill. Beautiful. Perfect. Well, let's keep in touch and see what insights come, especially with the full moon tonight.
Okay. Okay. Uh, Namaste.
Namaste. Be well.
We'll see you soon.
Bye.